couple places, you know, you go somewhere, you're like, oh, this place is cool, but I don't think I want to spend my whole night there. You go to the next place, maybe have a drink, wait it out, and that's how we ended up there.
Then Jordan and Alex walked in. I really didn't know them that well, but you know, we'd had class together, seen them around.
So we get in and we notice there's two girls that we knew from campus. So we sit and Jordan decides that he wants to buy them both drinks. So
the bartender gives it to them and she tells them it's from us, and they invite us over to talk and mingle, you know.
Which is nice. I mean, it's a really friendly gesture for them not really remembering that we were in the same class together. So we invited them over and conversation was nice.
Jordan and Stacy, both of them were definitely, something was going on between them.
The times that you come to chemistry class.
She was very attractive, but yeah, I could tell that she was a little bit more gone than her friend.
Tell me your GPA.
I was driving that night, so I wasn't drinking as much as she was, and neither was Alex.
Throughout the night, I ordered some drinks for me and Stacy. It's not like I forced them down her throat or anything. It's like if she sees that I'm buying her these drinks, that she would come to like me more.
And then they started doing shots.
I was like, oh,
She can drink, but she doesn't drink like that. She normally doesn't, you know, do shots.
It's not like I'm tied down or anything, so a little flirting seemed like it was fine. It's a fun idea, you know, and he was interested in me and I can be interested in him, and after that it's done, you know.
He's not acting like he normally would. He's really being pushy tonight, and he's really just, you know, liquoring this girl up.
I mean, in the beginning, you know, when she was taking pictures of us, or when I would put my arm around her and she didn't mind, I thought that was an open window.
I just remember looking over and seeing Jordan touch Stacy's hands. And it seemed innocent, but as the night kept going, he kept touching her more.
He did put his arm around me, which is not a big deal at first. It's like, you know, I don't want to freak out. I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, why are you touching me? Get away from me. Especially after he bought me, you know, drink after drink. Come on. Hey, you can't. I gotta go. I don't want to be seen as the person that's like, all right, I know you've been nice, but back up. I am the champion of not working.
I thought that maybe she was warming up to me, you know, and that me and her could go the extra mile.
They were pretty ripped at that point. I'm thinking she just got way too drunk than she would normally be, and just wasn't in a position to take care of herself.
You are the best, yeah.
You could see that she was slowly going downhill from there. What I mean by that is that she was getting more and more out of it.
Take a break. I couldn't give you a specific timeline. I just know that it went from really fun to I'm gonna vomit in my shoes, I guess.
Sure you're gonna be okay? Yeah, I mean, she said that she was feeling a little sick and that he had offered her a ride home and that she was gonna go with him. And before I could say anything else, they were up and walking to the door.
I mean, that is what was offered. Hey, you need a ride home. It's on the way towards my house, presumably, because he was just being that shining prince, you know? Even if my house was in the other direction, I'm sure it would have been on the way to his house.
I thought a ride home didn't mean it as simple as that. I thought it meant to something else.
He noticed all on his own, I think, that I wasn't feeling well, so that's perceptive, I guess.
When I was taking her home, it wasn't necessarily to to help her. It was more of, I wanted her to believe that I was a nice enough guy to where she would trust me, And it worked.
It's okay, I'm here now. My house is safe. Nobody's there. You can leave. And then he didn't.
Yeah, I thought she liked it. I thought it was totally fine. I didn't see any indication that she wanted me to stop.
I don't think this is... Please, no. I said no, and I mean, no one says what'll happen when you say no, and it's like, oh, come on, it's cool. We're just hanging out.
Honestly, I thought it was like playing hard to get.
Scream, fight back, yell, kick him out, punch him, call the cops. But when you're in that situation, there's a million things that can be done, but really all you're focused on is why is this happening? And I just was there, and I don't know, having to sink into the fact that I was one of those people that I thought, were like stories in dark alleys with strangers.
It was my fault. I was drinking too. I couldn't put two and two together.
I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. He definitely didn't go into that night thinking that he would do what he did.
I mean, if you can't be safe with your best friend next to you in a place with tons of people, I probably shouldn't have gone to where I went without some kind of solid, hey, this is my plan.
I didn't intend for it to escalate into that kind of assault charge. And that's when it hit me that this might be bigger than what I thought it was going to be, and that I could be in a lot of trouble for something I didn't think through.
Everything that you trust, it's like, who do you talk to about that? And it's all gone. Everything you believed in is gone. And it is a shock.
I should have made her come with me to the bathroom and asked her if she was okay. I shouldn't have let her leave. I should have been a better friend.
Nobody wants to, be scared all the time. It's good to trust the world, but it's also good to know that you're allowed to say no to anyone that you thought you could have trusted.
You're like a light, oh, you shine through the darkness. Take away the fear I've held inside for all these years. You pick me up when I'm on the ground. You give me strength when it can't be found. After all these years,
This was someone she was having fun with all night. This was someone she thought was a nice guy.
I mean, it's not a crime to go and have fun or go and drink. It's what happens after.
She agreed to have drinks. She agreed to have fun. If she flirted, who cares? That doesn't always equal sex.
Well, come on. This is a girl who is having a good time, enjoying the guy she's with, and he's just drinking it in. Of course, he's a normal, healthy, red-blooded American boy. Pushing all up against each other. She's smiling while he's kissing her. This is part of the mating ritual.
I think she might have liked him. I think she might have been having fun with him, but that doesn't mean that she wanted to have sex with him.
It's not as black and white as that. You walk into a bar dressed like a saucy little minx and you flirt with boys and drink the drinks. What?
I think her dress...
You don't think anything's gonna happen?
I don't understand why the way she's dressed has anything to do with it. Her outfit looks fine.
She's drawing attention to herself.
Regardless of what she's wearing, it
Yeah.
doesn't give someone the right to violate. I go to the beach, I wear a bikini. That doesn't mean that someone now has the right to violate my body.
Being attracted to someone and saying that you like them and maybe taking a couple photos does not equal consent to sex. That just means, yes, you're attracted to each other and that's fine. But what we're on trial for is him initiating sex when she was not able to give consent to it.
If you look at this picture right here, look where his hand is. And she's not saying no. She's not pushing him away. She's not saying, hey, get away from me.
Just because they held hands, that's different from sex. Like, we have to see that. Just because I go and I can kiss someone or they let me kiss them, that doesn't mean they want me to go and have sex with them.
I think we got to look at the facts. The facts are, if it's consensual sex, then it's not rape. And if there's no consent, then it is rape. And so if you're drunk and you're not able to give consent, that already means that she is not able to say yes.
If no one's allowed to have sex when you're intoxicated, we have a population problem.
People are allowed to have sex when they're intoxicated. People are not allowed to have sex when the other person doesn't want it, when one person is intoxicated.
We have to understand that these are human beings who are out doing things that human beings do, but does that necessarily lead to sex?
And again,
That doesn't necessarily mean it's rape either.
We're focusing on the victim, and the victim is not on trial here. It's the defendant that we have to decide on, and we need to decide on if he knowingly committed this crime of sexual assault.
When we think of rape, we think of this awful situation where it's so violent, where there is ripping of clothes, where there's shoving and things. Rape doesn't have to be that violent. It is as simple as someone having sex with someone who didn't want to have sex. That is the definition of assault.
Right, there's a right way to get what you want. I keep saying this, there's a right way to get what you want, and there's a wrong way. He went about it the wrong way.
That's very cut and dried. This isn't.
But it is cut and dry because we're talking about consent.
She could not give consent because she was intoxicated.
Correct.
Oh gosh, then I can't believe, why is this still coming up? Then every single time someone gets drunk and has sex, it is rape.
It's a potential to be rape if one of the people does not want it to happen.
What happened was that she had sex with him, and a couple days later she regretted it. That is what happened. She could have said no. She could have said no at the door. She could have said no to sex, but she didn't until a week later.
That's right.
The bottom line is she did report it. A couple days might have gone by. We don't know what she was wrestling with, but she ended up reporting it.
I can understand why she didn't report right away. This is a huge commitment to take it to the police, to bring it into the criminal justice system. We saw her on stand. We saw her crying when she had to go over what happened again. Who wants to live through that again and again and again?
There's a lot of reasons why victims don't come forward initially. Sometimes they're afraid that, they'll get blamed for what happened to them. She knew that maybe she didn't make the best choices for herself. Maybe she shouldn't have drank as much. Yes, maybe she should have gone home with her friend, but that's not what happened. Somebody offered her a ride when she was drunk. She decided that maybe instead of driving, she would go home with him. And he took it upon himself to go further with that. So
he crossed the line.
He crossed the line, And
But she came with her friend. She could have gone home with her friend.
But we don't know why she chose to go home with the guy instead.
He kind of secretly was like, come on, I'll take you home, I'll take you home. When she said she was feeling sick, he took her home under the pretense that he was going to help her.
She wanted to party. She's the one that wanted shots. She asked for shots. He bought shots. Why are you punishing him? Because she wanted.
But she didn't ask to have sex. All of that up until the point where he decided that he was going to have sex with her without her saying yes, that is what he is on trial for.
The thing that we have to think about is what kind of precedent this is going to set for, like you're saying, for future cases, right?
Okay,
like we have
but that's not our job right now. For this trial, for this jury and deliberation, we're not supposed to look at the precedent it's going to set. We're supposed to make a decision on this sexual assault case. And unfortunately, sexual assault is not only committed by a stranger in a dark alley. It includes the supposed nice guy. It includes someone nice who just happened to not listen to the word no, or to not get consent.
No, he did not listen. He didn't hear it.
And we have to look at the legal definition of sexual assault and base this case on that.
I just know that if it was me, I wouldn't do that. If I was with a girl, we were drinking, and she got to the point where she was so drunk that she was falling down, that she looked like she was gonna pass out, I wouldn't have sex with her. I mean, it's just common sense. Like what? I don't even see how that could be fun for him.
I don't think he wanted this. I don't think he's asking was asking to rape her or wanting to commit that.
But did he?
According to her.
That's what it's starting to look like. That's what it's starting to look like. And I guess that's the tough part is it looks like he crossed the line. It looks like he crossed the line, regardless of how we want to see it. He may have had the intention, he probably didn't have the intention to commit assault, but
I don't know how you're gonna call this rape. She was at the bar, she was having good time with him, and then she went home with him. I mean, I look at the pictures. There was nothing in there that showed like she was upset. She was over there hugging him, they kissing, So, to me, she just wanted to go home and have good time with him. You cannot just go blame him all the time.
I think this is one of the few crimes where we look at the victim on trial rather than the person that committed the crime. If I'm walking and I get mugged, people aren't asking me what I wore. People aren't asking me why I was walking down a street. They're asking me what got stolen. They're asking me what happened. And I think it's just wrong that if it's a case like this, she's the one that seems to be on trial when she didn't commit the crime.
So this young man did something stupid. That I think we all can agree on. Does that mean that he needs to go to jail for how many years just because he did that? Look at the consequences for this young man.
Look at the consequences for her. I mean, we saw in the testimony, she's having nightmares. She has a hard time leaving the house. She avoids people now. I don't know if she'll be able to have healthy relationships after what happened.
she could have put herself in a different position. And at this point in time, they were both in a position where the risk was high for something to happen. So it's a tough case. It's not an easy one. It's not a black and white one. But at the same time, there are consequences. Her consequence is probably dealing with the hurt and pain for her entire life. And his might be having to deal with the law and what that demands as his consequence for his entire life.
They both messed up, but I'm not comfortable with this thing following this young man for the rest of his life, affecting every aspect of his life, because they both made wrong decisions.
They both made wrong decisions, but none of her wrong decisions were breaking the law. He got greedy. He put having sex over any other thing, and that's what happened.
You know, I don't agree with her choices, and I wouldn't have been in that situation. But if I was her, I wouldn't have wanted him to do what he did.
You know, we've discussed this for a while now. We've looked at the evidence. We've shared different perspectives. Do you think we're ready to come to a decision?
Yes.
I think we're ready.
Everyone can tell you, no, you should never blame yourself. But you know that there's people out there that are saying, well, you shouldn't have drank so much, you shouldn't have gone home with him. You shouldn't have flirted with him. And yeah, he offered to take me home, which is nice. He was already willing, and he was already, you know, hey, I'll take you. It's not a big deal. I'm heading out anyway, so why not? It's on the way towards my house, presumably, because he was just being that shining prince, you know? Even if my house was in the other direction, I'm sure it would have been on the way to his house. And he offered to walk me up. Okay, I'm here now. My house is safe. Nobody's there. You can leave. And then he didn't. I mean, how do you lead someone on when you say no? I mean, no one says what'll happen when you say no and it's like, oh, come on, you know, it's cool. We're just hanging out. I guess you reevaluate what's normal, what's okay to do, what's not okay to do, where you can say no and not feel like you're just being the terrible person shutting someone out. You start to see stuff like that, and you care less about what people think of you because someone clearly didn't think enough about you when this thing happened.
I was too intoxicated to fight him off. I remember telling him no. And not being able to stop it.
Yeah, things like this don't happen in that community, much less in Maui, you know, on this little island. Everything's supposed to be like safe, and it wasn't.
I think some people tend to find themselves in shock. Some might have very low affect, so not show a lot of emotion. Others might be extremely distraught.
So you have to let them know you do believe them. Once you show or once you demonstrate any resemblance of a doubt, you know, that will cause the victims to go back into the shell.
My crew members didn't know what happened, and actually I'd not told anybody at work. None of my managers know that this had happened on a layover.
Initially, they don't want to talk about it. They want to dissociate from it. They want to avoid. They tend to isolate themselves from their friends. They feel that they're forever changed, that they will never be the same.
It's not just taking a temperature and swabbing an area and poof, you're done. It's time. Sometimes I sit there and I just hold my patient's hand and I give her time.
I'm a flight attendant. Was actually on a layover on the mainland, hanging out with some of the other crew members. There was a bartender that one of the crew members she had a fancy for. She was interested, or I don't know exactly what was happening, but so we went to his place, and it was 3 of us. It was her, myself, and the bartender. And it was getting late, and I was, getting tired. And at one point, I realized that she was no longer there. Like, she had left at some point. He had suggested, why don't we just rest it off here at my place, and then I'll take you in the morning before you have to go to work. And I was raped.
It's very difficult for the women because a lot of times there were drinking involved, and when they're intoxicated, they believe that, oh, it's their fault. But we tell them, no, when you haven't given consent, it is really, really not your fault. And so I think that's the first step, where they have to let go their guilt and address what happened to them.
It can be quite scary, and understanding that they've just recently been traumatized. Their whole world has been shattered. There's a lot of emotions attached to that. Everybody's going to respond to the trauma differently.
I was 12 when everything kind of began. I had gone to the park with my sister earlier in the day, and I had left my slippers at the basketball court. And I got home, and we were just getting ready for dinner, and I realized I had forgotten them, and I was like, I'll just be right back. And I ran out, and I just not even really thinking. There was a group of guys partying behind the building, and it's obvious that they were intoxicated. And as I started to kind of try and inch my way out, one of them kind of like took my hand, and before I knew what was happening, I was kind of being pushed into the car, and 3 of the 4 of them tried basically force themselves on me, and it was all kind of a big blur of details, and then at the same time just my mind, I think, wanting to block everything out. And I probably had only been gone like maybe 10-15 minutes tops, and so my parents were like, why are you late? And I made a decision like that I wasn't gonna say anything. I made up some excuse and just sat down and had dinner, and everything changed.
I think for those who are reporting later in life about a trauma that had happened in childhood, for those people, it could be as fresh a trauma as somebody who was just recently sexually assaulted.
Oftentimes, that's one of the primary things that they're concerned with. Who's going to believe me? It's been 2 or 3 years, and I'm saying this now. So we start by believing, and then we look for corroborating information. It also takes a multidisciplinary team or an interagency team to effectively address a sex assault on whether it's a child or an adult. So the team concept is absolutely vital.
I'm part of what is called a SART team, and so that stands for Sexual Assault Response Team. The 4 basic agencies that are part of the SART team are law enforcement, the prosecutors, the crisis advocates, and I represent the medical component of the SART team.
The team is absolutely critical to the work that we do. So the cases are typically reported either from a location, either the home or some place out in a residence, or a lot of the cases are actually reported at the Sex Assault Treatment Center. And in particular, if it's an acute case, the crisis worker that comes in, and that crisis worker is just so key to again, their initial contact with the victim and the support that they provide.
Not that day, but the next day, if I'm not mistaken, I did end up calling SATC and just saying, you know, I needed some assistance, that I was, you know, that I was raped. So my case manager met me at Kapiolani, and she explained that she was just going to be there for me during this process as much as I needed her to help me if I needed any direction. But it was really good. Like, it was really good to have somebody who was there to talk me through everything. And she didn't push anything from her side. You know, she didn't push me into doing something that I wasn't ready for or that I didn't want to do. And I really appreciated that.
We basically help assist from the first point of contact, and then from there we support them through the process, whether that be making a police report and then going to the hospital and supporting them through the forensic exam, the physical exam.
When we're working with someone who's been a victim of sexual assault, it's a different type of communication that has to happen. If one of my patients is having a really hard time, it's really nice sometimes to have the advocate in the room to help kind of just calm the victim down and just give them reassurance. And because we're all on the same page, because of that victim-centered approach that we take, it's so important that we all communicate with each other, because in the long run, that's what's going to benefit our victim, my patient.
The last thing we want to do as prosecutors and law enforcement is to re-traumatize the victim, and that can easily be done if the victim is not ready to discuss or be interviewed regarding his or her assault. We see the therapists as specialists. They work directly with the victim, and they're in the best position to gauge at what state of mind the victim is in. Especially for children, we want to make sure that that child will not be re-traumatized, where her testimony will be worse for her than the actual assault itself.
The crisis team has a way of knowing who to assign their client to, you know, whether they have a specialty in cultural work or if they have a domestic violence. So it's a really team thing. We're there together.
How would you feel if you're a victim and you had one person that believed and supported you versus an entire team made up of 8 to 10 people supporting you, sitting with you, and holding your hand through every step of the process? It's like having the Avengers on your side, and not just Iron Man or Spider-Man. You have everyone, Captain America, Thor, and everybody else.
Talk to people. Keep your heart open and soft. I mean, that seems almost impossible, but you know, wherever you find it, whether it's through counseling or therapy, there is hope on the other end. Like, you can, you know, keep going.